You see, you don't call on Google Hangouts. You don't breathe into the mic. You don't go respond to those work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. I do, but I
I always forget about the little addition you put on at the end with the repeat.
Yeah,
I always come in like a bit too early.
It was unintentional the first time, and then it was like, well, if we ever get copyrighted, I can just say, objection, Your Honor. I repeat that times.
Very smart, very good. Well, I mean, sadly, we will be putting that to rest for a little while.
Yeah, we got to make sure this new theme song is done right, and it's the thing that we want to do is very high risk, high reward. So if we're gonna do that, I would rather just press play as opposed to having to use my voice all the time. In case because usually we do these at night. I don't want to have to like wake up anybody else. But yeah. Plus, Andrew, it's the afternoon.
Crazy,
this is amazing.
Crazy recording time for us, but we've got a reason for that, Brooklyn, as you very well know.
The last time that I did a show in this before nighttime, I remember doing one like on a Saturday morning, and I'm like, man, this is great. I wish the schedules lined up like this all the time, that I could literally just wake up, like get my breakfast, and then hop on here and have a show.
That was Kelly, right? I want to say it was Kelly or Jake.
Kelly,
one of the Australians.
Jake for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But as Brooklyn alluded to, it is the afternoon here, which is weird considering my lighting is somehow worse in the afternoon than it is at night. But that reason is because we have somebody from overseas, somebody that we haven't had on the show in a long time, since season 1. And I'm a little disappointed that we haven't brought him back since then, because he's one of my favorite guests that we've ever had on the show. That would be Andy Merryweather. Andy, how you doing,
going, guys? I'm doing good. We're in the middle of a UK heat wave, which I don't think it has happened since 1976, and I'm not just plucking a year out just for laughs. It's genuinely the hottest summer since 1976, and schools are shut, so the kids have been home, and I've been home from work. Everyone's trying to get as comfortable as possible. We don't have the infrastructure for heat, and I'm melting. And I didn't know what it would be like in my studio because I haven't been in there in a few days, and it is rough. But there is no better reason to die of suffocation than this show. I'm so excited. And it'll be a great way to go out, and it will be one that my kids can watch when they're older. And and I'm really excited. I'm so glad to be back. It was such a laugh last time. And last time we had a lineup of albums that I was really able to, bully. And this time it's been good. It's been a lot of fun to listen to some stuff that I don't want to just criticize and upset people. But yeah, and I'm excited. And you two look super healthy. Like, is there both on regimes? Like, I feel like if I watched, and apologies that I don't catch every episode, but I feel like you must be able to watch the sort of the
progression,
the glow up,
Yeah.
Yes, actually, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. No, I woke up one day and I'm like, I need to get to the gym. And we started doing that, and then softball just started a couple weeks ago for the summer. So that's my Sunday afternoon usually. Go out and play a few innings of that. So
amazing.
Good for you.
So Andy, what did you bring to the table today?
Spoilers.
The album that I brought, is that what you're? Yeah.
Yes.
Just not in sense of like my personality and things like that. Yeah, the album. I went with, I was torn between 3, and they were all right in the same wheelhouse, same column, same section of HMV or whatever. But I went with Keane, Hopes and Fears, and it's basically because.
We'll save that.
Oh, is that it? Is that so that's what I brought. That's me handing over the LP. Yeah,
amazing. As I accidentally alluded to earlier, we also have a first-time guest on the series today. Andy was very generous enough to get in contact with him. and basically be like, hey, there's this show that these two guys do. You want to just do that with me? And he was very kind enough and generous enough to say yes. We're excited to have him. That would be Mark Haas, aka Moose. Mark, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you guys so much for having me on. And thank you, Andy, for giving the recommendation. Andy and I, over the last probably like 60 to 90 days, have been on, like, we've played each other in trivia. We've been on podcasts together. So just kind of like, Andy was like, when he hit me up about this, he's like, we've been kind of in a sync. And he's like, would you be interested in doing this music like podcast show? And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I mean,
it's great to be here.
There's no one better than Mark in general, but like, yeah, it's so cool that we get to hang out as often as we do, considering the geographical logistics. But yeah, no one better.
So your heat wave is just another day for me in Southern California. So
I lived in Florida for 2 years. That was just summer for us.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 90 degrees out right now, and it's 10:15 in the morning. So
yeah, what is 90 in my world?
Math, Andy.
Brooklyn would know this better than
high teens.
So let's see, that would be 32 degrees Celsius.
Oh, so it's 38 here.
Wow, that's
impressive. Which is we have.
You're reaching 100, 103, 105. Wow,
we haven't seen that before. Like, I don't remember seeing it.
We cracked 30 here, I think 3 times now, which is odd. Like, we usually don't hit that until late July through till September. So yeah, and like, I'm on an island, so it's very humid all the time, and it sucks.
If I was into meteorological like investments, I would have taken a look at this heat wave and invested in sunscreen, because there's going to be a lot of pasty Brits that are going to be burning themselves pretty well.
Yeah,
could have minted a coin off of that.
Exactly. Yeah, we now have like exactly 1-1 evidence of which skin our kids got, because my wife's a redhead and Ezra, they've both been out in the sun at the same amount of times. Like, it's literally just from this patch of shade to this patch of shade, car to childcare, and it's just like Ezra is bone white and Harper's getting a nice like tan. So she's got my skin, and Ezra's stuck, I'm afraid, with what looks like redhead skin with blonde hair. Poor kid.
Mark, what did you bring to the table today?
I brought Whiskey on a Sunday by Flogging Molly.
Yes. And I forgot to tell you guys the order beforehand, so I'll get to that later. Brooklyn, what did you bring today?
I brought an album that's been sitting on the back burner for me for probably about a year now. It is The Police's debut album, Outlandos to More.
And I brought Peter Gabriel's Us, the album he released after So, the one that's more well known. So the order is going to basically be the audience choice album, which will be Purple Rain by Prince. Then we'll be getting to The Police. And then after that, we're going to be doing Keane, Peter Gabriel, Flogging Molly. So starting with Purple Rain by Prince, it's a soundtrack album. It's one that it's hit kind of like legendary status. Released in, I want to say it was like 1986. Double checking that right now because I am an idiot who forgets to do these things. 1984. Featuring some of the most well-known songs of his career, such as When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, and I Would Die For You. I've never listened to the album all the way through in my 35 years of life. And I've known those songs in particular. I always thought that those were great. And when, after 2 listens to this album, I completely understand the hype. I completely understand why some people regard this as one of the greatest albums ever made. All of the songs are either absolutely phenomenally catchy or structured in a way that's just so impressive. I love the kind of griminess of Darling Nikki. When Doves Cry, I still think is like one of the greatest songs ever made. The guitar and like the little synth solo at the end is just absolutely incredible. The one that really caught me for a loop, really surprised me, was Baby I'm a Star. Like that's the one that I'm a little surprised that more people kind of don't talk about, because just the energy behind that, the instrumentation is so strong, the vocal performances are just on point. And then Purple Rain, like the ending of Purple Rain is one of the most, I think, ambitious ideas, but was pulled off so well, because this entire album is just a masterclass of production. Like everything has space to breathe, but it also just like enwraps you as you're listening to it. So I am really happy that I finally got around to listening to this album. But what are everyone else's thoughts?
I'll go next on this one. I have listened to this album before. Actually, a perfect guest for the show, as well as Andy and Mark, would be Jake Marinoni, because he
fought for this album to be talked about.
Oh, absolutely. That and another album we're talking about later. But yeah, this is one of the few albums that kind of has like the pillars, like the big singles to kind of go back to. I found with this show, when I have an album that already has the singles, I'm kind of looking for like B-sides that kind of like should be in that single level of notoriety. And I agree with you, Andrew, and that Baby I'm a Star is one of those. It just has that, like, it's almost like ahead of its time, like that like 90s like aerobics, like just the really upbeat nature to it and whatnot, with the synths. When Doves Cry, I think, is a song that has just grown on me as I've gotten older. I love the duality, where like the lower and the higher register when he's singing. The synth work in that is good. It's very tight. Purple Rain, I think, is just one of the best pop songs ever. And I think that from like an arrangement standpoint, because it does do those 4 chords, but like if you listen to it again, you get those like nice underlying notes. Like there's like the first chorus is like it's like a B flat second. So like the last note in that chord connects with the next one, which is like a G minor 7. So the last note stays there. So as you're hearing what's traditionally like a standard 4-chord progression, you get those bottom notes that are kind of telling like a similar story in that as well. And I just love the complexity. Like when I grab the guitar, that's the song that I try to play a lot, because you want to perfect it because it just sounds so open with it and whatnot. The thing with this, and I'm curious, I would love to hear like a metalhead's perspective on this, because I think there are times when Prince really gets raw and he does like the screamy sort of stuff. It's like I feel like there is kind of influence from there. I don't necessarily think it works all the time, but there are moments that it does. You're talking about Darling Nikki. I like the storytelling in that as well. It just has a good cadence, rhythm, and flow. But yeah, it was the right time.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't see Mark's microphone turned on. Like I don't see the colors, so I know that he's not next.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
No,
a lot of these songs I had from elsewhere in terms of references. Specifically When Doves Cry from the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. Purple Rain, I think it was just in the zeitgeist. And Let's Go Crazy is one that I'm kind of emotionally tethered to, because Ezra sings it all the time, because Tori Kelly covers it in Sing 2 or Sing. I'm not sure which one.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And Ezra's singing that all the time. So that's it's quite funny to like, it's kind of weird to come to it that way round. But it's just what's happened. And I wrote down as many genres as I could from this album as I was listening to, and I wrote down metal as well, so that's quite interesting. What I loved about it is that, I think we talked about this last time, that especially if you're doing an album review, it kind of matters. Everything matters in the structure of that album, and starting off with like the opening to a sermon and then ending on Purple Rain, I kind of tried to think of it as like one long mass, right? So I thought that was interesting, and it's got like lots of gospel and lots of storytelling, homilies, I guess you could say. And I tried to think of it that way. And also 9-track albums, I don't know my 1984 really well, but 9-track is interesting because then you start to get these like patterns of 3. And I felt that as I was going through, like there's definitely 1, 4, and 7 are like I think introductory tracks. Then you get like the middle, like a hit, I think so, and then a closer. I think you get it 3 times. I might be someone might be able to fact check me that, or maybe it's subjective enough that I just get away with it. But it felt that way, and I was thinking about.
I love having Andy on because he sees these things that I just don't even think about until he brings them up.
And I guess the final thing before I move on is "Let's Go Crazy." Having heard it a million times on Sing, which is a really polished, like auto-tune version. When I was listening to this version, I could not get the theme to DuckTales out of my head, and it's. I couldn't get it just kind of when it was going, let's go crazy, let's get nuts, and I kept going, woo, every time in my head. I just couldn't stop.
Whoever created that theme song obviously was a giant.
I didn't look it up. I need to know which way around. It must have been Purple Rain first. And then maybe it spawned like these early 90s, I guess, the cartoon theme, and it was all based on that kind of sound because it sounds exactly like it. So I don't want to say Prince copied DuckTales, but that's my thing. I enjoyed it. There you go. That's close enough that
that's easily close enough where whoever made that had just bought the album.
Yeah. And I guess in summary, it was kind of cool listening to it that way around, and kind of listening to where it came from. But Prince just still isn't my guy, and I can't really get away from that. And I think there should be a thing, and maybe I mentioned this last time as well, but the format that you listen to it, because we're all like on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and I do try and put my both AirPods in and stereo sound and everything. But I don't know what it sounds like on vinyl and things like that. But to me, I started to asterisk the album thinking, oh, maybe it was, too early to really consider sort of the full dynamic spectrum of a sound. Because to me, it didn't sound bassy enough. It was kind of flat. I don't know, like Brooklyn, you might agree that it kind of comes in at the middle and there's the treble, but there's nothing. I'm waiting for that. And I was like, no, Thriller's out. Like Thriller's around at this point, which is just driven. So I don't really know what happened there. It might be a production decision, but I would want it to be really hitting me in the gut with the bass.
I'm not gonna lie, considering how much Prince didn't really like Michael Jackson at all, I don't even know if he ever listened to Thriller.
Yeah,
no,
but
I agree with you.
I mean,
the
fat bass exists, is what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree that there was definitely like a high and a low, and there were times where like I need that middle to kind of fill it out because then it weirdly sounds empty.
Yeah, but I didn't know if it was like the Apple Music kind of cut of it or whatever, That's why I can't like have the ability to go and listen to it on vinyl and just hear all the the way it was supposed to be. So I will always asterisk it with that. We're listening on crappy, shitty, modern technology.
Yeah. All right, Mark.
Sorry, I really wish I would have gone before Andy because the whole idea of the mass and the gospel preach, I was going to make that point and Andy stole it from me. So next time I'm definitely not going to give him the good leeway to go first. But look, this is, I think, considered probably one of the top 10, classic albums of all time, I think by, the majority of musical scholars. So much like you guys, I have heard all of these songs at different points in my life, just never actually in a complete album. So I've never actually sat down and listened to the Purple Rain album from beginning to end. And of course, Let's Go Crazy, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry. I mean, those are your, probably mainstream songs that you're going to hear on this, and just the influences. So I too also wrote down in my notes like how many different kind of like genres I could pick out of this. I mean, everything from like pop, soul, dance, rock, R&B, funk, sync. Like there's so many different like styles and influences that he uses in this album. It really is incredible to listen to it from beginning to end. I do hit a little bit of a lull in the middle because it all does tend to kind of feel equally, I don't know what the term I want to use for, like rhythmic. And it does start to sound the same. But then, you know, the way that this album finishes with Purple Rain and just it's kind of a perfect ending to this, what Andy and I both, I think, are kind of leaning to, this like mass that they're holding. You have kind of the, you know, the beginning of Let's Go Crazy with the, you know, you almost envision, you know, Prince in a pulpit just preaching to a church. And then at the end, this is just kind of how that mass ends. So no, while I think the hits in this one will always continue to be the hits, I, like you guys, very much enjoyed Baby I'm a Star. Nikki Darling was another standout for me, even though towards the end of Nikki Darling is when I started to hit the lull. And like, yeah, When Doves Cry comes in at number 6, and you're so familiar with that song that you could. So a couple of weeks ago, we did this like music trivia event with like my group of friends, and literally that song came on, and it was a matter of like hitting your buzzer. And just the very start of that song had probably, and this was on a cruise ship, so there's probably like 50 teams, and people are like pounding on their table within a second and a half of this song beginning because it's just so iconic. We of course lost our ass off in that. We did win 80s movie trivia. I got the 35 out of 35 correct.
Cool.
Just a little humble flex there, but no, this iconic album. I actually very much enjoyed listening to this from start to finish, because that was my first takeaway was, oh, he's really going for this like gospel soul type edge. But then there's so many influences in this. It really is kind of a crazy album for what he was able to accomplish in like 84 and just the influences that he has. And then clearly the influences this album has on music kind of going forward. So like I said, widely considered, I think, to maybe one of the, you know, greatest albums of all time.
Oh, you're muted, Andrew.
It
wasn't you this time.
Watch your ass. It's coming for you next.
Yeah.
I want to bring up something that Mark and Andy both brought up, because I didn't even think of it until this moment. Which is like this whole sermon idea throughout the entirety of the album. Does anyone know what the backwards message at the end of Darling Nikki is?
No.
Okay, so the backwards message is basically, hello, how are you? I'm fine, because I know that the Lord is coming soon, coming soon. So now that you guys bring that up, I think that this entire album is just that. It's a sermon session, which that's genius. That's crazy. I never thought about that before.
I mean, hearing that, and that's halfway through, that's song number 5 out of 9, right? So that's halfway through that it has that reverse message. That's crazy. That, I think, just reinforces the whole idea of this being one giant like pulpit sermon.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me like this album even more, to be honest with you. All right. Does anybody have any last minute thoughts they want to bring up about this album?
I guess none of us have mentioned the fact that it was kind of written with a movie in mind, right? There is an element of like cinematic scope to it,
which I wanted to watch before this episode. I just didn't.
Oh yeah, yeah. What the second track after Let's Go Crazy. That hook,
Take Me With You.
Yeah, that rising sort of arpeggiated hook there. That you put on a sound. I mean, that just sounds like a soundtrack to me. Like you don't need a song. Like that. Just like that's when I started to like. That was actually the thought. Oh yeah, this is like a movie soundtrack. It sounded like I was listening to this. You know when you put on the Toy Story soundtrack, it starts with "You Got a Friend in Me," and then the rest of it's the score. Like,
Yeah.
it sounded like we were gonna, let's go crazy, and then into the score for Purple Rain, because that hook was so cinematic. And I don't know how different the album would have been if it was just written as an album, but I guess it was definitely written with a movie in mind, like to try and hit a different medium. I don't know, but yeah, worth noting, I guess, because I think it impacts the way you produce a set of songs.
All right, so we are going to get to the scores and favorite and least favorite songs. I will start us off with this one. I don't do this often. Didn't think I was going to do this on first lesson, but I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I was expecting myself to really love this album. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. My favorite song on the album is Purple Rain. It's the title track. I think it's one of the greatest songs ever made. I do have a least favorite, which would be Computer Blue. As good as I think that song is, it's just the one that I would come back to the least often. And that's the only reason I picked that song. It's still a great song. Let's go to Andy next.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give it, I haven't really weighed these up against the other albums, but I think I'm gonna give it a 7.8. I think 8 would be worthy of like the album quality, and then 7.
That's generally my rule as well.
Yeah, so I guess 0.2 taken off just because it's not for me. It's not my kind of thing. But yeah, I can't really. And then maybe on re-listens and stuff like that, there's a lot of this when you're talking about albums that you haven't really listened to in completion. There's a little bit of like "See Me in a Year," But in terms of Let's Go Crazy, just because I've got that emotional tether to Ezra singing it since he was little, and Computer Blue. It's happening again, Andrew, that we pick very similar.
Yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, that would be mine. That one was the one that I was like, maybe it's getting a little lazy to review stuff like this, but that one would be the one that I would think that someone's put it through Suno, and it's like, someone had the bones of a song and they put it through Suno and AI popped out this version. But it might be getting a little redundant, that kind of review, because it's so easy to do now. But I don't think it sounds AI. I just think I think it's a little bit
on autopilot.
It's a little bit on autopilot. That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, exactly. All
right, Mark, let's go to you next.
Ooh, in terms of like a numerical value, I'll probably go with like an 8 out of 10. Again, iconic album. Never really listened to it from beginning to end, but know these songs. Let's Go Crazy, I think, is always going to be my Prince song. Weirdly enough, when I was a kid, and I played a lot of sports in my life, hence the bad knees, bad shoulders, bad everything. But anytime I used to take the football field, I had a coach that was absolutely obsessed with Prince. And he would play, and I'm realizing, like, as I re-listen to this album, like, I'm realizing how much like influence Prince had on like his musical choices. And he would play Let's Go Crazy, like in the locker room before we would run out and take like the field, while we were, and that was the song that played. I don't know. I heard that song, 15 games a season for, 4 or 5 years. So I have that song in my head as almost like an amp up anthem. So anytime I hear it, I kind of almost get into that like amped up like mode. Like, okay, it's go time. Let's go crazy.
Like a good walkout song, kind of.
100%. Yes. So I definitely have that one like embedded in my head. Yeah, I can't also argue that Purple Rain is not a perfect song, because it is. It 100% is. I also, like Andy, geez, I swear to God, I need to go before you, dude. Computer Blue is the one that, while I appreciate it, I probably won't gravitate back towards that one. But again, I mean, this is a near perfect album as far as I'm concerned. So my 8 out of 10 score is really like, there's a lot of these songs I won't revisit, and that probably is why it takes it a couple of points down in terms of like the notch. But Come on, it's Prince, it's Purple Rain, it's iconic.
And Brooklyn.
All right. I am giving this an 8.5. I'm kind of with everybody in that, like, it is a classic. I just don't think that it's for me. There are like 3 incredible songs on here that cannot get killed on re-listen. But the B-sides are good. Some are really good. And then there's one in particular that I'll get to later. I'm with everybody. And that "Let's Go Crazy" is my favorite song. I love that intro. In particular, there's a thing we have here called life, and then he gets into something about the afterlife, and he does like a kind of like a fake out, does a little trill, and then it kind of comes back in. And I wonder if that's like a moment of like being like, oh, I see the light, or like a near-death experience or something. So I really appreciated that, and I love the call and answer of the keys and the guitar. I'd say in general with this album, if you're going to go back to it for anything, go back for his guitar work, because I think that's something that's underappreciated for Prince. Like, everyone thinks like of Prince as the front man. It's like, no, like he's an incredible guitar player. It like one of the first videos, or if you ever look up like "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," there's a big like live all-star performance, and Prince is right there front and center, kind of doing that solo.
Yeah.
My least favorite is the Beautiful Ones. That's where I was alluding to earlier, where I want to hear like what the metalheads thought of that one, because it seemed almost unpolished, I guess, or there was like kind of wanted it to be more raw as opposed to like a more perfectionist thing that Prince is really sort of known for. That's why he kind of produced everything. But yeah, so that gives it an overall score of 8.575. Currently puts it at number 10 for this season. Not quite as good as "Permission to Land from the Darkness." Or sorry, a little bit better than "Permission to Land."
Okay, that would have been wild to me.
Yeah, wait a minute here.
But not quite as good as "In Case I Make It" by Will Wood, which has been kind of like the gatekeeper, I guess, for like the great albums.
That's okay. No offense to "In Case I Make It." I liked that album a lot. That's crazy to me. That's insane. All right. Well, we are going to go to you next, Brooklyn. Tell us more about your album.
All right. So where I got introduced into this album, we were actually talking about him earlier. I used to do a show called Setlist, which is like a one-on-one interview show. And I had a gentleman by the name of Jake Marignoni, who was from Australia. And one of the questions that I had on there, what was your favorite band? And he said The Police. And at that time, I only had time to listen to one album, and I decided to listen to the debut album. When I listened to this album, I thought it was incredible. I had it on par with like Pearl Jam's 10 and Weezer's Blue album as like, this is one of the best debut albums ever. I'm a sucker for trios. I find there's just a lot more responsibility. You can't like kind of sit back and let others. Everybody kind of has to be on equal strength. And if I had to like rank everybody, and this Stuart Copeland is the best member, with Sting's bass work being second, Alex Summer being third, and then weirdly enough, Sting's vocal work I think being fourth, which is oddly enough I think what everybody kind of knows him for. I love the arrangement. I love the production on this. Next to You, right from the get-go, it just has this great like surfer rock punk sound, and then you get into the more post reggae sounds that they were known for, with like Can't Stand Losing You, Peanuts, Truth Hits Everybody, Hole in My Life. I kind of had like a renaissance with Roxanne. There was if anybody is fan of Community, you know that song kind of got memed to death. And then when you look at that song outside of the meme, you realize the technical prowess that's going on with it, where like Stuart Copeland is matching up with Sting's bass lines, and each part has a particular purpose in it and whatnot. Peanuts is like a weird song. You get that like, I forget what it is. I don't know if it's a theremin or if there's something weird. but I really appreciated it for that. Truth Hits Everybody really kind of hits hard, and then you kind of take a 180 turn on this. The last two songs, Be My Girl Sally, and then Masako Tanga, which is like this big instrumental, which is like, I would be curious like what Primus has to say about that, because I feel like there's some like stuff where Les Claypool listened to that and I'm like, I want to steal that sound. This kind of went down for me on re-listen, mostly because of the lyricism and like what they were writing about. And the example that I give is like, before I even threw on any of the albums, first thing I had stuck in my head was Can't Stand Losing You. I find that's very catchy, the pre-chorus in particular, but it's like, I guess you call it cowardness, but to carry on living doesn't make no sense. It's like, what a whiny bunch, where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna get the girl. All right, I guess I'm just like, this is it, everybody. So long. So I had to kind of recontextualize some songs, like So Lonely, Next to You, and whatnot. But there are some good ones. I really like the pre-chorus in Hole in My Life. Like, it leaves me vulnerable. I have this disease. I just like, there's a certain chorus that they hit, there's a certain chord that they hit right before the chorus that gives it that nice like bend. It kind of keeps everything fresh and whatnot. But I'm curious what everybody else has to say.
I want to hold off for a little bit because I want to hear everyone else's thoughts.
All right, I'm going to jump in here before that SOB Andy steals my thoughts.
Get him!
There is a power to music, I mean, we know this, that can instantly transport you in time and space to a place in your life in which you first heard this music, right? That's the nostalgic factor and, power of music. And so I'm gonna tell a quick story, if you guys will permit me, of a young 21-year-old Mark Haas bartending at a bar called Heroes in downtown Fullerton. And every
Amazing bar
Friday,
name.
Heroes is fantastic. There's like 3 or 4 of them in Southern California. It's actually right next to where Matt Nost's wife's pizza place is. Funny enough. And so I worked every Friday night at Heroes as a bartender. And if you've ever worked at a bar, if you've ever been to a bar at 3:00 on a Friday, it's dead. It's that lull between where lunch ends and the evening crowd coming off of work is coming in, right? And there was a guy, and I only know this man's name is Pete. And Pete came in every Friday right at 3:15. Pete had the same order every time he came in. He would get a shot of either Jack Daniels or Jameson. So it became a joke as he came in. We would say, "What is it today, Pistol? Is it Jack or John?" He always drank a tall Coors Banquet, which, again, if you don't know about Coors Banquet, it's the good beer that Coors makes. It's pretty much the only good beer that Coors makes.
Coors Banquet is awesome. Coors
Yes.
Light is trash.
Terrible. But yeah, so he would class it up with the Coors Banquet, and he used to go and he used to sit in the back corner. And Pete was not a very loquacious dude. He was not a man of many words, but he knew everyone's name, and he would just greet them. He'd walk in and go, "Mark," and Jack or John, he'd tell me what he would want. And then I bring him over his beers, and he always sat right next to the jukebox in the corner of the bar. He'd throw his like $20 into the jukebox. And for that like hour of time, he had himself a few drinks and he would play the music that he wanted to listen to. I remember at 21, being an idiot 21-year-old, being like, who comes to a bar and drinks by themselves and just plays the same music? And this guy played this album every single Friday. This is what he kicked off with. And it didn't come to me until I was about 2 songs in, and I was like, I know every song on this album. I know what's coming next. Like, I instantly flashed back to being at that bar in Heroes and even like singing along with the songs, because I heard these songs 25, 30 weeks in a row, because he was there every Friday. I worked every Friday. And this is what he kicked off with. He kicked off with this album. He was a big classic rock guy. And so after this album, he'd play the Eagles, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Three Dog Night, things like that. But as soon as I got 3 songs deep into this, I was instantly transported back to that bar. And now at 43 years old, I start thinking about Pete's behavior, right? And I start thinking to myself, fucking Pistol Pete is onto something. That sounds awesome to just be able to go to a bar, have a couple of drinks, and listen to your favorite music for that hour and a half that Pete was there. He was in charge of his music. And I think about it and I'm like, I would love to be able to do that every week now.
This guy sounds like an icon.
That's his happy place, right? That's Pistol Pete's happy place, is that hour and a half that he's controlling that music and just having a couple of drinks by himself. And so anyways, now my review of this. Yeah, I mean, this is the Police. This is Sting before he's, Fade Routha in Dune and goes off on his solo, run there. But I also agree that this isn't maybe like, he's not necessarily the standout performer in this group right here. I'm huge into great drum rhythms and drum beats. And so I will also champion Stuart Copeland and what he's doing. And like, that's definitely a standout. There are songs in this that sound, a lot of this does for me tend to sound the same. While I appreciate a lot of the music, a lot of it is very repetitious. Obviously a few of these have stood the test of time. I also agree that Peanuts is a weird song. I didn't quite get meshed with that. You hear Roxanne, which is obviously going to be the standout from this one, which went on to stand the test of time, which has been played, ad nauseum at this point in time. But for their debut album, which I believe this is, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's bold. It has a lot to say. There are some absolute bangers in here. So I think it's a great first album. It might actually be, because then I went down that like Police rabbit hole and revisited some of the other albums. This is, I think, their best album, is their first one. The other ones, you do get some additional, classic hits from the Police in the other ones, but I really feel like they came out of the gate swinging with this one. It's so funny when you were talking about The Hole in My Life. The moment that you said that, I couldn't stop laughing, because I immediately, as I was singing the lyrics to that song, because again, I feel like I know all of these songs. I'm like revisiting the lyrics. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, these guys are kind of a little mopey. So that's funny that was your take on that too. I apologize for all the cussing too.
No,
Southern California.
I swear like a sailor. All right. I will go next on this one. I knew some of the songs beforehand because the store I work at, I think at least 3 of these play constantly. Next to You, So Lonely, and Roxanne, obviously. And I've only ever listened to Synchronicity before this one, like the full album. And kind of hearing this album and where the Police would go, I realized that Sting became a much better singer. Or at least everything fit his vocal range better.
Yep.
Because there are some songs where his voice is put to great work. Then there are other songs where he is completely out of his range. He is screeching, trying to hit some of those notes. And it was just audible pain for me, I'm not going to lie. And I will agree. Stuart Copeland is the absolute hero on this album. His drum patterns and like the sonic palette that he kind of creates and how he's like anchoring every single one of these songs is just absolutely incredible. My biggest problem with this album, actually, and this is still going to get a positive rating from me, this album overall. But my biggest problem with this album is that everything seems to feel like it's on the same decibel and energy level. After a while, it gets a little tiring. It's only 38 minutes, roughly. I think you could have cut 2 or 3 tracks and it would still be a little bit better. Now, granted, there are some moments that I really liked the experimental side of it, especially Be My Girl, Sally. Like that little poem-esque kind of, Brooklyn, that's the one that Brooklyn hates the most. I can tell already.
It's not necessarily that I hate it the most, but it's what it's about. And once you and like, I filled her up with air. That's like, we're talking about dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, do you? You like what you like. I don't care, people.
Yeah.
But like that, I will say that moment in listening through the entire album, I was like, this is kind of the break I needed. Thank you for having this here. So there's a lot I do like about this album. Unfortunately, there's just like that and Sting's voice on some of these, as well as the absolute guilt tripping on Can't Stand Losing You that did make me kind of grind my teeth a little bit. That does keep this from getting a better score from me. Andy?
Okay. So first of all,
I like where this is going.
No, Mark, lovely storytelling. I love that story, and I felt like I should have started. I thought I should have started it like that,
Again, we need to create this podcast here, Andy.
Yeah. I also love the fact that you jumped in to make sure that I might have had a random Pistol Pete story that I was going to steal from you.
Just had to make sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I listened to this twice, and I love it when this happens. I feel like I had such fun with an album on the season 1 of Turntable. I listened to this twice because of Be My Girl, Sally, because I wanted to, just because I'm a little bit of a freak, recontextualize the album as if they were all about a doll. And and so like Roxanne then became like not about a red light district and a prostitute. It became like a low battery warning and things like that. So I really loved it, and I did this last time, but a spoiler alert that Be My Girl, for that reason, is both my least favorite and favorite, because it completely changed the album for me. And it was a lot of fun doing that. Now, getting into the actual musicianship of it all, the Roxanne is so difficult, and shouldn't be. And actually, Sting is really going for the vocal on that one. Whether it's good or not, I don't care. I mean, I haven't got the best voice in the world, but I can appreciate someone like really going for it. And I think it's his harmony as well in that particular track, because it just sits too nice, and he's really, really belting. So that track, particularly on his vocal, I thought was commendable. Not necessarily like gifted, but good. I love tempo shifts. So Lonely doing a massive tempo shift for the chorus is a win. I don't think enough songs do tempo shift. I think probably one of the better examples of it is Oh What a Night, probably, December.
Oh yeah.
Just a massive leap in the chorus, and if you tap out that beat and then put it on mute and then tap out the beat of the chorus, it's completely different. So Lonely is like so big and really has that heavy reggae feel in the verse. Next to You, obviously it opens with Next to You felt like, and I didn't know, I think a lot of context needs to be had when you're reviewing albums. I didn't know this was their debut album until I went and kind of did my little bit of research. Next to You just feels like, and I think the tempo's too fast. I think it's like rushed. It feels like the band in school that are like doing their song and they're doing it a little bit too fast because they're like amped up and anxious and everything. Next to You just feels like the lyrics are going way too fast, too many syllables in there. And I was just like, I can feel how new this is. I can feel that they're like going, we got to get this all out. But yeah, I love that. I love what you said, Brooklyn, about 3-member bands. and I think you can probably feel how live this was recorded. I think it, in terms of technically, the worst part about this album, maybe nothing to do with the three of them. The mix is so bad. So it might be in the mixing and mastering, and I think that's how I think that's why the dynamics feel flat, because I was listening to it and it's just like all over the place. There's an element of charm to it. It definitely feels like someone's first album in that respect. But I don't. Maybe if you put one of the masters in the engineering suite, you have a lot more dynamic and a lot more sort of smooth through the dynamics. It felt very weird. Peanuts, especially, just all over the place in the mix. But yeah, I thought it was really fun and great to hear these songs. I have the community thing. As soon as Sting comes in, I want to go no, immediately. But what very, very talented people. I think even putting these songs together, let alone like when they come out of those, when it hits the and it comes, and I'm like, even trying to play that along the piano, I'd be like, I don't think I could time it in. It's incredible. And then you've got to think on the Stuart has to go on the up, and I genuinely think it must have taken such musicianship to even get there. So commendable in that respect. Very raw, charming, loved it. All about a blow up doll. Tim Minchin has a song called "Inflatable You," which is a song that you don't quite realize is going to be about a blow up doll. He's singing this love song, and it's got some very, very funny parts in it. And then he does a riff on the that Beatles outro, "Don't Let Me Down," which is obviously a pun about air, stuff like that. And I had that in my mind, and I actually then went and just played that for a few minutes, just to ease between all of these. I thought one of the kids was coming in then. The monotony of not monotony, but like when I'm listening to music, my wife was watching me listen to it and going like, "It's so funny because you don't listen to new music." Hello, say hi. But yeah, listening to music is like me. I take on a lot, so it gets quite exhausting. Hi guys, all right.
Nice.
All right.
Don't worry, we've had this happen whenever Jeff RU comes on. So this is.
I'm kind of waiting for it to happen to me. We haven't had a time where that's possible, but when it does,
You got water, yeah? And what's in that one?
All right. So while this is happening, let us wrap this up. If anyone has any last minute
Hey,
thoughts.
Ezra.
Hey. All right. So let's go into scores, favorite and least favorite songs. Brooklyn, this is your album, so you start us off.
Yeah, so if we're talking to me like 2 years ago, I think this is like a 9.5, but now I think 7.5. Like it's good, it has its flaws, but I'm still having a good time with it. I'll get least favorite out of the way because I know what that one is, and it's Born in the 50s. Every time that song comes on, I almost like mockingly just sing but don't say the words, like and it's very boring. You were talking about like the length of of this album with being only 38 minutes. That's where I'm like, all right, cool, skip on to the next one. My favorite, I think, is still going to be Can't Stand Losing You. As whiny of a song as that is, hella catchy. I still I like even the bass line as Stuart's doing like the hi-hat stuff on the drums. Yeah. But also shout out to Masako Tonga, because I really like that one, and I almost wonder if that's in the middle, if that helps it with the mixing and just how everything kind of stays at one volume.
All right, let's go to Mark next.
Yeah, I'm probably going to give this one like a 6.8.
Mark, timeout, because that's exactly what I had written down in my notes.
Nice. Great minds, brother. Great minds. I agree. I think Masako Tonga, like, there's an ambition there, and there's a lot going on with it. I love Be My Girl Sally. I don't know why, but I distinctly remember knowing every words to those songs when I was bartending with Pistol Pete. 20 years ago at this point. But yeah, all in all, like a great debut album, an interesting sound. As I kind of mentioned, and I also kind of feel the same way that you do, like a lot of this tends to blend together for me. And it does kind of all tend to sound rhythmic. And then you get the one standout, or you get something that's a little bit different than what the other ones definitely sound like. If you listen to the lyrics in a lot of this, it does up it. But if you're just listening for like a, like purely like, is this catchy? Is this not catchy? After like song 4, it just kind of hits a bit of a lull. It finishes very well. It starts out strong. It finishes very well, but that like middle 3 songs just tend to kind of sound the same to me. So yeah, 6.8. Yeah, I think my favorite, I'll give Be My Girl Sally my favorite. Least favorite, I don't know. I guess Peanuts.
All right. I will go next. As I alluded to, 6.8 was my score. It's an album where, knowing it's a debut album, if I heard it, I would think to myself, I see the promise here. I see the absolute potential of this band. I think they just need to bring it all together a little bit more, which they ended up doing. So my favorite song is Roxanne, because I'm a basic ass bitch, apparently. And my least favorite song, I'm not gonna lie, I did not love Masako Tango the way that everyone else did. However, Born in the 50s, I agree with you, Brooklyn. That's the one where the real repetitiveness really starts to kick in on this album. So let's close it out with Andy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. Be My Girl Sally, favorite song. Be My Girl Sally, least favorite song. And I would think 6.5 on my when I listened, and it was just no, 6.5 is too low. But anyway, it's going to end up at a 7. I'm gonna it's somewhere, maybe it is 6.8, and then the second time I listened, it was 7.2 because I was having so much fun thinking about that, and so I'm going to go to 7.
I'm not gonna lie, that did bring it up like a little bit for me now that I have that backstory.
All right, so that gives it a score of 7.025, which for this season, out of 26 albums, it ranks number 23.
Wow.
A little bit better than Start Anew from Shad, which is our lowest ranking from the 2025 episode, but not quite as good as Sing the Sorrow from AFI.
You guys, the weird little stat that I think I got from like Rick Beato or something. There are 4 bands that haven't released material in at least 4 decades that still get 30 million Spotify plays a month. Do you know? Could you name them?
Not at all.
That haven't released new stuff in a month.
Haven't released anything in 4 decades, but still get 30 million plays a month.
CCR?
The Eagles?
No,
Eagles put out Long Road to Eden.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So they get
so Creedence, Clearwater Revival.
There's only 4 that consistently hit it. Police is one of them.
Led Zeppelin?
No, so the 4 are Queen, the Beatles.
Sure.
I've got them listed here. Oh, and I've
got No. Now and then came out recently. That
Nirvana and Police.
The Police one is surprising to me. The other 3 are kind of no-brainers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Police is definitely the most surprising.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, is that the Police have snuck in there. It means, like, I guess people are like catching their ear, like a younger demographic, right?
All right, well, Andy, that does bring us to your album. Tell us more about Hopes and Fears.
Yeah, so this is the band Keane, who I guess in the UK were kind of always in the shadow of Coldplay, I guess. But for me, and
I can see that.
I love them both. I mean, and I think there's an anecdote about Chris Martin asking Tim Rice-Oxley, the Keane piano player, to be in Coldplay, and him saying that I've got a band and we're doing all right, before they all exploded. But for me, so I came up a piano player, of course, and in every school or college or whatever that I went to, I was the only piano player ever. Everyone was playing guitars. And so through the 90s, we had the big kind of Oasis versus Blur battle that was happening. And I love, again, both bands. But when Keane came along, so the guitarist for Keane left the band just before they made it, just before they got a record deal, made it. And it kind of stood them out from the crowd a little bit. And essentially, Tim Rice-Oxley treated the piano like a guitar. And because there's rock piano and there's piano-based bands. I would consider Coldplay to be more of a piano-based band, but not that Chris Martin treats the piano like a guitar. So this was quite unique in that, like, the hooks that you typically have, I guess it would be similar to like if Stairway to Heaven was written on a piano instead, which is like feasible. It was like someone writing all these riffs and hooks for a piano, and I hadn't really heard that before. The piano kind of being treated differently, like its own instrument. He puts his various pianos, like his Korg and his Nord and stuff, that he puts them through guitar amps and plays with the pedals in the same way that a guitarist would. So he's kind of like, experimental in that way. There is not on this album, I think, because the budget wouldn't have been there, but for Under the Iron Sea, the opening track of Under the Iron Sea, their second album, I think they spent 2 weeks in the recording studio on just a one piano sound. And so it's that kind of band. And the thing that Keane gave me, which I didn't really know at the time, you're just listening to what I thought was cool music. But what Keane gave me was this kind of science and poetry equilibrium. And also, the thing that I've come to realize with Keane is that it's kind of the social awkward band. They're not cool. Like John Mayer has an album, his first album's Room for Squares, right? Where everyone's cool in music, but I'm not cool. There's Room for Squares because there's an album that exists called No Room for Squares. So he did like I'm cool and quirky and stuff. No, you're not, John Mayer. You are cool. You can't get away from that. Like, everyone knows that in Berkeley, everyone was in your room. You were the cool guy. Keane are really the nerds. That's how I feel about them. They are socially awkward. There's some autism there, and they put a science behind their music. And then they're not trying to be anything other than what they are, which is just like, imagine like incredible musicians and a lovely, lovely singer who I don't know how he sounds intimate and like he's in a cathedral at the same time. I don't quite understand it. I don't think it's to do with production. I think he's just a very interesting singer. I don't know how, imagine all those people, but they're also nerds and they treat music like that. Yeah. I think this album, Hopes and Fears, is exactly what it says on the tin in terms of there's a dependency there, a vulnerability, very, very exposed in the lyrics and in the melodies, and zero guitars, and so and not in a rebel. It was just not in a rebellion sense, just in a kind of like, this is what we've got. So they just hit for me right at the right time. And I love playing their hooks. I think Tim Rice-Oxley's inspired a lot of people. And I think Ryan Tedder, arguably one of the best songwriters of the last sort of decade, he loves Keane. And I think you can hear it.
100%.
Yeah. So I think they're kind of underrated in that respect. Obviously, people know their songs, but I think they are underrated. So yeah, for me, like last time, with Passenger, it's a chance for me to sort of shout about something that's not typical. Even though I could probably talk bigger on Billy Joel or Michael Jackson or whatever, it's kind of just a chance for me to shine a light on something that not enough people talk about, I would say.
So I will go next, mostly because Andy brought up a bunch of the things that I was going to bring up, essentially. Like the lyrics in this were something that stood out to me the most I actually got to listen to this one 3 times. The lyrics were what stood out to me the most on this one, not because that they were like these grand, like expertly written, like hyper crafted song structure, lyrics, and all that, but because there was an intimacy to them that had such a poetic weight to it, that it wasn't overly complicated, but it got the emotion of the lyrics to match the music perfectly. And my God, the vocal performance on this album is really, really good. I will say, now learning that their guitarist left just before this makes a lot of sense, because as much as I did like a lot of the piano being played like a guitar kind of songs, there were some songs, in particular, Your Eyes Open, that I'm like, this is screaming for an electric guitar to come in there somewhere. Not necessarily to be the driving force, but just to add that extra little bit of texture. I do think that this album, after Everybody's Changing, I think that's a front-heavy album. I think the first 5 songs are just a little bit better than the rest of the album. And I do think I think Sunshine and Untitled One kind of blend together for me, where I can't really tell the difference between the two of them. But for the most part, I really do like a lot of this album. There are really great elements to it where I can easily understand how the rest of pop music following afterwards was highly influenced by this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happened. Yes, I told you it was coming for you.
Since he's muted, I'm gonna go. Okay, so my initial take on this, like right off the bat, is as soon as I started listening to Somewhere Only We Know, I immediately went, I could see why Andy likes this. Like that was my immediate first thought was, okay, this is a very heavy. And then you ended up texting me like maybe a day after we had conversed about what albums were going to be played on this show.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, have you given Keane a listen to? And at that point, I'd only listened to like 2 of the songs. And I text you, I was like, dude, there's like 34 songs on here. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And you were like, no, you got the wrong album. So I also wanted to include that little joke because there's like an exded version of
they
album.
did an anniversary deluxe. Yeah.
Yes. So then I went back and found the 11 song album. Thank God. But no, there is something like lush and almost cinematic about the sound that this band produces. It is very soul healing listening to this music. There are 3 songs that have made its way into my normal rotation at this point in time from the band Keane. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I had heard Somewhere Only We Know. I think that's maybe their most popular song.
Yeah.
So as soon as I listened to that one, I was like, I know this band, but then everything else was new to me. I also agree that some of the songs do tend to blend together because the sound does sound very similar. I agree Sunshine and Untitled One were kind of lows, but Bed Shaped is...
Yeah, that picked it right back
It's
up.
gloomy, it's epic, it's sweeping. This guy's voice is incredible. Like, he can go down to a whisper and then just have this giant emotional, like, falsetto. Keane was a very, very, very... pleasant surprise for me, even though I know one of the songs and had heard it before. I couldn't pinpoint it or where I had heard it, and hadn't honestly given anything more than that one song or even know the name of that song that I did have heard before in the past. But I like the uniqueness of this band. I like the uniqueness in the fact that there isn't a guitar. I don't disagree that a guitar wouldn't be welcome in here. However, I think the band compensating and adjusting their sound with the lack of a guitar with different, rhythmic beats, synthesizers. I have to assume that there's some sync going on with this recording. I'm not a musician, so I have to assume, at least by my own ear, that that's what I'm hearing. But like I said, there's 3 songs on here that are absolute bangers, and I've now considered them, in terms of bangers, I mean, if I am having a tumultuous or uneasy week and I need something to be able to calm me down, soothe my soul, Somewhere Only We Know, Everybody's Changing, and Bed Shaped, I would throw on either one of those 3, if not all 3 on repeat. And that is going to center me again. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this album.
So this is the first album that I threw on in the rotation. So I think I got the most play out of it. We were talking earlier, one of the albums I threw on my girlfriend. I was like, oh, I haven't listened to this in years. It's this one.
I knew it.
It's like, oh yeah, this takes me right back to college. So great times. But I loved how full the piano sounded in this throughout it. Andy, I think you're mentioning like if they were connecting it through the guitar amp, but it didn't sound like the traditional like reverb that you would throw on to kind of give it that fullness. So I really appreciated that. I don't know what you guys are talking about this whole first half, second half stuff. I think the second half is just as good as the first half. I found the first half was like, all right, we'll do it for the studio. We'll do it for like, those are the more like poppy sort of single stuff. There's a couple tracks in the middle where I do agree it does kind of start to sound the same. But then I think, Sunshine, Untitled 1, and Bed Shaped is a great 3-track runoff to end this. Bed Shape being one of 2 great closers that we're going to be talking about today. I really like in We Might As Well Be Strangers, there's some like really interesting panning going on. It's not as gradient. It's really kind of back and forth. And I appreciate little moments like that. Your Eyes Open. I don't know. I used to know the key, like the fancy names for keys. Like for example, like if you're playing a song in the key of G or any key really, there's technically like 7 different ways that you can play in the key of G based off of that. And they're doing one particular style, but for lack of great terminology, I call it the Bond theme, because it sounds like the opening to a Bond movie. And I really like that. I loved the bass line in it. I appreciate when bass lines, you hear the notes, but you don't hear the plucking, because I definitely understand why, with like guitar parts, like you can hear like the scratchiness of like the pick and whatnot. So I appreciated that. That's it. No, this is really good. I'll get into my other stuff for like favorites.
I do think that they would have been a great band for a Bond theme. Actually, it would have been a really good.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So, any last thoughts on this album before we move on? All right, looks like we're good. So, Andy, this is your album. What's your score? And give us your favorite and least favorite.
Okay, yeah. I think I would give this an 8. I obviously am aware of where Keane went after this, and it got bigger. So, I'll just go straight into my least favorite. My least favorite is Untitled 1. But not phonically. It's just it doesn't belong on this album. I think the fact that it hasn't got a title is really fitting, because it sounds like a later album. And I kind of put it in my notes as like it's kind of like the Keane will return in Avengers Endgame song. So it kind of it feels like it's from Under the Iron Sea, maybe, or even later. But my favorite, I mean, it's really hard. I think like I'm so glad you mentioned We Might As Well Be Strangers. It's one of the I don't know your face, no. It's so haunting. And what a sad breakup song. I referenced John Mayer earlier. John Mayer has the slow dancing in a burning room, which is a great phrase and a great idea for a breakup song, but we might as well be strangers. It's just so devastating. And Keane do have that kind of like lonely in a crowded room kind of thing, if you ever feel like that. But my favorite has to be the one that is kind of, it really sucked when this popped, because it was that, 11th track on the album kind of thing. No one really knew it. And then it went into a John Lewis Christmas ad, which is like the big thing over here. John Lewis always do an ad at the end of the year, and it's like massive, and like they always get like a great pop singer to cover a song, and I think Somewhere Only We Know has been one of them. But Bed Shaped, in case anyone who is listening to this hasn't heard it, is upsetting. It's a really, really devastating song. Even the idea of what Bed Shaped is, it's to me always been like depression, when you just can't get out of bed, you're stuck in dark. But this piano from Tim, and that fall at the end, that fall is like sinking. Oh, it's incredible, just for the sake of like a few pretty normal chords. Just unbelievable. So Bed Shaped is my favorite. Untitled One is just by default. It doesn't really belong on Hopes and Fears. It doesn't sound like hope or fear. And an 8, I think, a flat 8.
Okay, Brooklyn. It's twice.
I do it all the time. It's the same issue as Andrew. My keyboard's right here, and I don't want to like. So this is a 9. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think this got the most listens of the albums that we did. I will do least favorite first. I'll do Can't Stop Now. It was going to be Everybody's Changing, because there's one thing that I didn't like. I didn't like the double. There was like, for lack of a better term, it sounds like when you hit it like a really old piano and like the hammer hits it twice.
Yep.
And then they mimic that in the vocals. But I appreciate the chorus and Everybody's Changing enough where it's like, all right, I can take away that to really to get what's going on there. But Can't Stop Now is like, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Brooke. This is a very interesting point on pianos. If you're listening to those kind of bands, Coldplay used to do it all the time. So you're basically doubling up. There's an album that I play on that's the same thing. So you're basically, if you ever listen to I guess Clocks, would it be Clock?
Yes.
Right. So yeah, you take Chris Martin would record that in, and then you record it an octave higher, and that's why Clock sounds like this. It sounds doubled, like you're saying. And Tim Rice-Oxley, I think, sort of pioneered this sound. And it's a shame that you don't like Can't Stop Now. I do like that. I can't remember what key it's in, but and he's basically going like that. But yeah, doing exactly the same. It's probably tracked. It's probably not recorded in with octaves because they're a little hectic. Probably recorded it once, put the octave up, record it again, and then you get that chord. And it doesn't sound flanged. And I think that's a real interesting thing. It doesn't sound like you're hitting 2 notes. It sounds perfect. And that can be a problem for people's ear, if it doesn't sound flanged. So apologies to interject. But I did want to mention the octave piano sound. It's quite I guess it's like a early 2000s Britpop thing.
Yeah. My favorite, and it's this and like 2 other songs that I'm debating on, like what's been my favorite song overall. It's Bend and Break. When you guys were talking about like this album really needs a guitar, or they're treating the piano like the guitar, because I didn't really think about that when I threw it on just to kind of give myself a refresher, I'm like, oh, this is the best example of them treating the piano like the guitar. I love the intro of it. I love the chorus. I really like his vocal work. Something I forgot to mention earlier. I got a lot of like Coldplay, obviously, but like U2, The Killers, and particularly vocals. I got a lot of like Tom York from Radiohead. But yeah, no, Bend and Break was hands down my favorite.
Good song.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I'll give this one an 8 as well. As I mentioned kind of earlier, like this was a very pleasant surprise for me re-listening to this album or listening to this album for the first time. I do, like I said, I now have several of these songs in rotation. Keane is now one of, kind of my most played artists after, if you kind of go through the last like 30 days worth of like listening, this is like the second most artists listened to. So I do find a lot of like comfort in some of these songs, but I just find it so like fascinating, the sound. And I think that this lead singer, Tom Chaplin,
yeah,
he can sound like a choir boy, but then he just hits these massive notes. So it's just kind of a beautiful like sync, the whole sound of it. I have mentioned the 3. I think Bed Shaped is probably my favorite as well. I agree it's haunting, but the sync of the song, the like melancholy of the song is somewhat comforting, even though the lyrics of it are devastating. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this. And like I said, I couldn't, the first couple of songs, I couldn't get past the idea of like, of course, Andy is choosing a band that's a piano only, type of band. But then as I gave this another listen to, and again, because of the, albums that we chose today, this was the one, much like Brooklyn, I re-listened to the most. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this. I'll give this an 8. I think my least favorite is Untitled 1.
I am apparently going to be the harshest of us, but it's still sitting at a 7.7. I think it's just like on the cusp of greatness. It just doesn't quite reach it for me personally. However, the highs of this album are some of the best of the songs that we've listened to. I still cling on to Somewhere Only We Know. I personally love that song to death. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. However, Everybody's Changing really snuck up on me. That one actually was really close. My least favorite was Sunshine, mostly because that one kind of felt the most, I can't think of a good way to put it other than just like flat for me. Not that it was like outright bad. It's just the one that really didn't connect with me the most.
Yeah.
So 7.7. And what does that bring it to, Brooklyn?
That gives it an average score of 8.175.
Nice.
Just a little over halfway ranking for the year. A little bit better than Amy Winehouse's Back to Black, which is the first classic album we did of the year. But not quite as good as New Radicals. Maybe You've Been Brainwashed too.
Okay. All right. Now we're starting to get into territory this episode in the season where I'm like, all right, maybe we need to readjust some things.
Let's do an episode of like second chance albums, or like
that may not be a bad idea. That's actually a really good idea. Write that down. All right. So with that, we're going to go into my album next, Us by Peter Gabriel. So Peter Gabriel is my favorite artist of all time. And if you asked me back in like my college years and maybe even like a little bit after that, I would have told you this was my favorite album of all time. That's not quite the case now. It may not even be my favorite Peter Gabriel album of all time, so has kind of like jumped above it. However, the highs on this album, in my opinion, are still some of the best in Peter Gabriel's repertoire. Starting off on "Come Talk to Me," it's just an incredible way of opening this album. Just like this epic sonic landscape created with like the drums and the bagpipe and the guitar and all that, creating a sound like a sound that is still so unique in its own way, with just absolutely stunning poetic lyricism. The wretched desert takes its toll. The jackal proud and tight. In search of you, I feel my way through the slowest heaving night. Just like, come on. I love a lot of like the very dark, atmospheric touches of some of these songs, like in "Love to Be Loved." Just that little, it's not a triangle. It's not like a little, I think it might be a little symbol, but just that little splash in the production and the musicality adds so much emotional depth and weight to it all. You get the haunting lyricism of "Blood of Eden," of just like this bond collapsing in front of your eyes with, is that a dagger or a crucifix I see? Then you get the softness of "Washing of the Water," the utter anger and disgust of "Digging in the Dirt." I want to say it's like, I don't know if it's like an oboe or something like that on 14 Black Paintings, which is arguably the most artistic piece on the album. And then you get like this really beautiful ending to all of this really dark, haunting, like tearing of a relationship. And at the end, you get "Secret World," where there's just like an absolute beauty to it that just really ends this album on such a high note. I do think that it has 3 songs on this album, though, that just don't meet the level of the rest of the album, with those being "Steam," "Only Us," and "Kiss That Frog." "Steam" kind of feels like either the studio or Peter himself going, we need another sledgehammer on this album. And just kind of falling flat, especially with like the rap verse on the bridge. But otherwise, I think that there is still like an aesthetic to this album that, when even not knowing the context of the album, the musicality and the lyrics really paint a great picture of detail for it. But that's me. I've known this album for almost 2 decades now. What's everyone else's thought?
I'll go. This like last time, this is kind of, I'm really appreciative that this was brought to my attention. I really enjoyed it. My obviously "Come Talk to Me" kicking the album off, I immediately was like, oh, this must be like post WOMAD, right? It's like all of those influences coming in. That song, it's been the album that I've listened to not the least. I did listen to it a couple of times, but the furthest away, so it's less recency bias on it. But "Come Talk to Me" starts with bagpipes, you mentioned, so it's got that kind of Celtic feel through it, but it ends on like, is it like a sitar thing? It has like the Byzantine,
I think so. I want to say that's correct.
It's very Middle Eastern ending, which is so interesting. Anyway, "Blood of Eden." Oh, and I also love with "Come Talk to Me," and one of my favorite things about like albums from a time ago that just doesn't happen now, everything's way too polished now, is the backing vocals and his lead do not line up sometimes. I love that stuff. It happens a lot in Motown, where there's a little more like singing, I should say, not singing, but like decorative singing. And I'd imagine he has like the chorus, the choir have learnt their part, and then he goes in and sings this, and he's just going for it, and it just doesn't matter, and he's not lined up with them exactly. That stuff is beautiful, and it works perfectly. I love that. Blood of Eden, I really enjoyed as a narrative and as a song. And yeah, the ones you mentioned, Only Us, it just didn't let me in at all. I just could not get in to the song at all. Steam, I did not like. I think I don't mind it as a song. It just didn't fit. And probably what we're saying, it probably wasn't up at the level. It just didn't get there.
I think it's the first and one of only 2 songs released as a single for this album.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, yeah, you never know with these kind of things what the studio had to say about what you should put out, like the A&R or whatever. I mean, maybe it wasn't his decision, but yeah, I didn't love that. Kiss That Frog. I went and found the lyrics for it. Definitely about a blowjob, isn't it? Definitely.
I think it is.
Right. Good. Yeah. And then digging in the dirt, I can see, there's a thing that I say with movies where I say you only get one chance to watch a film for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mood you're in, if you're going to watch something important that you think might be important to you, the mood you're in matters. So park it. If you're not in the right mood, if you just had a fight with your wife or whatever, don't go and watch like something imperative, because it will affect the way you have always seen that movie. You don't get to go back and watch that and have that first impression. So on the flip side of that, I don't think I'm annoyed at life enough at the moment. Everything is kind of nice to really, but there was a part of digging in the dirt. There was like a COVID era where me and my dad weren't doing too well, and I think digging in the dirt would have been great, but I'm just not there. Everything's fine. So it was just a song. That's not the song's fault. And then Washing in the Water, I loved, but we are reviewing an album. And album track listings matter. Washing in the Water is the final hymn for me. So the album needs to end. You can end big if you like, or you can end on like a hymn. And we mentioned Coldplay. Coldplay end their albums on hymns, right? It's like a lovely, I can't think of fucking Coldplay song now, but yeah, the Rain of Love, or I don't know. Coldplay do these lovely end songs where it kind of has the Washing in the Water thing, where it kind of does this. And these lovely kind of gospely, just Chris at the piano, and this Washing in the Water, I loved it for that reason. It kind of really clicked with me. But then why is there a song after? I'm like, this should be right at the end. You end with this song, or it cannot be on this album. That's how I felt about it. But then I'm bringing in all that. That's my conditioning from listening to lots of Coldplay albums. But have I got anything else to say on it? I really loved it. I really really enjoyed it. I love that. There's a singer-songwriter I went on tour with called Tom Baxter, and he has a lot of songs that people think are love songs. And when you talk to him, they're like, "Oh no, this is about my grandma," or whatever. And I felt like Peter Gabriel had this whole album about personal relationships. And if you want to, they could be about love. And I don't think that he necessarily is writing those about love. So obviously the man and the woman, Blood of Eden, fine. But this album was parental and
This album was written during a very rocky point in his relationship, like just kind of before he and I think it was his wife at the time, broke up.
Okay.
This is a divorce album for sure.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so I took it as like, I guess that's the great thing about music, but I took it as like, oh, there maybe are other relationships that, if he was in the middle of like a brainstorm, then the tracks on the album are direct, but maybe not. But that's how I took it anyway. Mm-hmm. And then a blowjob, great.
So there's a recurring panelist that we have on here that really goes after Peter Gabriel as not being a good artist. there are days that I disagree with him, and there are times where I'm like, I see where you're coming from. Here's my stance on Peter Gabriel, in particular this album. I like Peter Gabriel when he's weird, but there's a very fine line of how weird he can be, because when he's too weird, then it's like very like avant-garde, highbrow, like look what I can do. But I think it's because of his voice. When he tries to do the straightforward stuff, I don't tend to like enjoy it. As everybody has been talking, I've been kind of like on the exact opposite wavelength. I like the more upbeat stuff. Those have been my favorites. And there's some slower stuff that I really like, and there's some slower stuff that I didn't enjoy. I'll go through Come Talk to Me and Blood of Eden, because I know we've talked about those ones before. Come Talk to Me was famously Andrew's like favorite song of all time, and then Cody was like, haha, it's not making the top 500. We're going to replace it with something else. But I like that one. I like how open that one is. It just creates a wonderful atmosphere. Bagpipes don't even sound out of touch with that one. I think before we started listening to these albums, Blood of Eden would have been my favorite. It's just very subtle and soft and intimate and romantic and a bunch of other words. I really liked that one. But I look at like 14 Black Paintings wasn't my least favorite. But I just kind of got bored a little bit, and then like Secret World, it wasn't until like halfway in that I started to get invested in it. And I don't know if it's a problem of like the track length, because the shortest one of these is a little under 4 minutes. Average length time is anywhere from like 6 to 7. I don't know if that's a problem of like the 90s in general, where it's these really sort of fleshed out beats and there's like no need of rush, because I think on the upbeat stuff that kind of does work. But I think there's definitely times where it's like, all right, we're going to let this beat go for a bit until we come back in. So yeah, sometimes maybe good, sometimes.
Okay, Mark.
So I'll start by saying that I am a Peter Gabriel fan. The first dance my wife and I had at our wedding was to the Book of Love by Peter Gabriel.
One of the greatest covers ever.
Fantastic. And so I did some research on this after maybe getting like 3 songs into it. I was like, boy, he's really going through something right now. And yeah, I did look up that he was ending a 15-year divorce. His daughter was basically not speaking to him. And so the first like 3 songs from this album are him trying to reach out to his daughter and establish like a line of communication again, because she had basically just shunned him and shut him out. And so he was going through all kinds of emotional turmoil. So I feel like the first 3 songs of this, Come to Me, Love to Be Loved, and Blood of Eden, are so like very like emotionally honest. Come on, Come Talk to Me is fucking so good. It's so good. Yes, the bagpipes. And yeah, I'm not just saying that because I'm Scottish and Irish, that the bagpipes tug at my heartstrings here, but I forgot how good that song was. And I was locked in after Blood of Eden. And then, yes, much like you guys, Steam and Only Us was like, I don't know what you're doing there, but it makes sense with what you're saying, and that the studio was probably like, dude, we need some pop hits. Like, get making something for us, and you can finish out the rest of this.
We need something like big time.
Yeah. You can finish out your dark, twisted, emotional tale, but do a couple for us here, pal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. I guess the frog. It's funny, considering you're saying that the lyrics are definitely about a blowjob. Yeah. Again, it sometimes I think takes an outside perspective to like point something like that out, and you're like, oh yeah, that for sure is about somebody getting a Hummer.
Well, I mean, Sledgehammer's about his dick, so.
Well, for sure. But no, this, aside from a couple of misses with a few of the songs that just don't seem to necessarily work for me, that being Steam, Only Us, and Kiss the Frog, I think the rest of this album is incredibly it's just very like immersive. It's introspective. It's rhythmically complex. It's super focused. Like I dig it all. Like I said, there's just 3 that take me out of having like, if I'm listening from top to bottom, I think if I were to rearrange this, I would take out those 3 songs and just leave this as a 7-song album. And I think it would be a perfect album without those 3. So yeah, I dug it. I had a great time with it. And again, like as a Peter Gabriel fan, somebody who enjoys and thinks that he is a great songwriter, like some of the lyrics to this are just so poetic, so hard hitting, but it's interesting. Like some of these artists really do express like their lives through their songs. And like, I detected like, okay, he's going through something. So I had to go back and kind of look up like the history of this album and his, brief affair with Sinead O'Connor, which is on, and she's a background vocalist on Come Talk to Me. They recorded that song and then broke up, and she's nowhere else on the album. But it is interesting because that's pretty much his rebound after his divorce. His like reaching out to his daughter through his songs because they can't communicate because his daughter is devastated by the divorce between him and his 15-year wife. So I feel like Peter Gabriel is one of the best at being able to convey emotions in both his lyrics and the rhythms of his song. So yeah, like I said, I think that this is a solid 7-song album. If you release those 3, which just seem to be to reuse your quote for the studio.
All right. I know that Brooklyn's a bit on a time crunch, so we're just going to get to scores and favorite and least favorite songs. I'm sitting at an 8 point. I'm going to give it an 8.9. If there was like one less of those lesser songs, I think it would probably hit that 9 point. But considering there's only 10 tracks on the album, it does kind of hurt it a bit. My favorite, Come Talk to Me is my favorite song of all time. So that's my favorite. My least favorite, it was going to be Only Us, but Steam just feels so out of place on this album that I can't help but pick Steam as my least favorite. Brooklyn.
This is so wild. So my score is 7. I think 7's okay. It's the exact opposite problem that I have with Outlandos to More, where like Outlandos to More is like this sounds a lot of the same. Where with us, it's like songs that I love, I really love, but the songs that I hate, I think are awful. I know what you guys are talking about. Steam is the best song on this album. I love Steam. I love it because it sounds like Sledgehammer. And it's like, I like that like upbeat, like weird kind of sound to it. It was the most catchy beat of anything that we had. But yeah, you guys were like talking about like, oh yeah, I don't like Kiss the Frog. I don't like Digging in the Dirt. And I'm like, those were
I love Digging in the Dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiss That Frog reminded me a lot of like George Michael and stuff. My least favorite, I think, is gonna be Washing of the Water. And I think that's where his vocals kind of get exposed, where like if he doesn't have the production to kind of back it up, I didn't like what is it? There's a certain moment when he hits the word away, I just like he's out of his range, in my opinion. But I know that song is very beautiful for its lyricism. But if you've watched the show long enough, you know that I'm like production first and lyrics second. But
okay, a quick question before we move on. If this was given to a different artist, if that song was given to someone like Keane, do you think that it would work better?
Yes.
Okay. Fair. Andy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I think "Come Talk to Me" is the best song, but it's not. I'm just gonna put "Washing of the Water" as my favorite, just because it has that thing. I maybe it shouldn't be, because I do wish it was if it was the last song on the album, it wouldn't matter that his vocals are off. If you think about things like "She's Out of My Life," where Michael Jackson's like cracking and things like that, it just doesn't matter. It's about like singing it emotionally and live. But I didn't mind that at all. I didn't mind that it was not produced. And my least favorite, I guess it's Steam, I guess. I didn't mind any song, but it was just about the ones that either let me in, didn't let me in, or didn't really feel like they belonged. And I thought from memory, obviously it's been a little while since I heard it, but I thought Steam sounded like Huey Lewis to me.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just didn't belong on this album, and felt like we need a hit, or we need a radio play.
And Mark.
Andy, did you give a numerical ranking?
Oh,
7.9 for me.
7.9. I'll give this one an 8.1. Come Talk to Me being my favorite, and I know we're on a time crunch. Least favorite, probably Steam. Same thing. I just couldn't lock in with it. Not that it's a bad song, just doesn't belong in this album when you're listening it from start to finish. 8.1. Come Talk to Me. Added again to my rotation of songs. Haven't listened to it in so long, and so glad I got a chance to revisit this album.
All right. So, Brooklyn, what's that bring us to?
7.975. A little bit better than Girls Can Tell from Spoon, but not quite as good as Plans from Death Cab for Cutie.
Okay. All right. So, let's move into the last album, Brooklyn. When you can,
I'm gonna produce. I'm gonna do one little producer note thing here. Mark, do you want to say wait? Mark, say why you pick the album. I'm gonna go next, and then I have to guess.
Understood. Okay. Flogging Molly, one of my all-time favorite bands. My mother born in Ireland, my father of Scottish descent. So we definitely growing up embraced the Celtic lifestyle, essentially in Southern California. So take that for what it will. I mean, I guess it's just a bunch of Irish tattoos and a mother whose accent fluctuates like this, depending on the given day. This is a very interesting album by Flogging Molly, because there's only one original song on this album. That's the first one, Laura. And then song 2 through 5 are acoustical versions of what are normally up-tempo, fast-paced songs from Flogging Molly. So when they do this acoustical take on this versions of the songs, it strips down the like frantic rock, the chaos that is kind of Flogging Molly. And then they turn into more like gentle, like sing-alongs, waltzes, like very folksy type music. And then you have 6 through 10, which are recorded live songs. You get the chaotic energy of Flogging Molly in concert between 6 through 10. Now, I was at the recording of this specific album.
God, so
I was at this concert when this was recorded. So fun story really quick. There were 5 of us that went to see this. And we polished a bottle of Jameson in the parking lot before we went in. And we were like standing dead front and center at the ticket takers and security guards. And they were allowing the like first group to sit. And so we were next up. And, you know, we're at that point, between 5 of us had polished a bottle of Jameson before we had gone into this concert. So we're having some fun with the security guards. We're having some fun with the ticket takers. They're having fun with us. We're trading shots. And we give them our tickets, and we've got cheap seats. And one of the security guards like, "Hey, dude, come with me." So he takes the group of us 5. And this was recorded in what would be an opera house, essentially, in Los Angeles. And so there's these balconies that overlook, like you would an opera. You would see the fancy people with their monocles up in the balconies looking down. And he takes us to one of these balconies, and he's like, "Nobody paid to reserve this. You guys want it?" And I was like, hell yes. So we have this balcony view over this entire concert. And there's this massive mosh pit occurring in the center. We're directly overlooking the stage. It really was like truly one of my like favorite concert going experiences. But the reason why this album is so great is because there is a difference between Flogging Molly on album and there's a difference of Flogging Molly in person. And this 100% orchestrates the recording ability of Flogging Molly and then the energy that you get from seeing them live in concert. And I think they're one of the best bands to see live in concert. They just absolutely have this energy and this connection with the crowd. And then again, back to the acoustical sides of this, these up-tempo bangers that they have are slowed down to be such like soft, like melodic songs. It almost feels like you're sitting in a pub with a Guinness singing along with this band for those like first 5 songs. So Flogging Molly being one of my favorite, I had to at least give a shout out to like a greatest hits type album, this being that, but also I chose it because you do get the contrast of the acoustic Flogging Molly and then that energy that you get during their concerts.
Okay, very, very quick. And then the reason why I was trying to stay on as long as I could. So, Mark, I work in an Irish pub. I worked there as a bartender, so I am quite familiar with Flogging Molly.
Of course, yeah.
I hear a couple of these songs at least once a day. So this was definitely kind of a trip down that lane, and it's kind of like thinking about some of these songs. Some of these acoustic covers I thoroughly enjoy. I'll get it out of the way kind of right now. Drunken Lullabies, I was skeptical before I even heard it, because like part of that song is that it's so upbeat, and like I have like just an interesting kind of relationship with that song, because if anybody's familiar with like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that was like on the soundtrack for the 4th game. So
sure was.
I heard it there, and then like heard it at work. And I'm like, I still appreciate it from that. So to hear this really stripped down version, really slowed down version, really makes you kind of pay attention to the rest of the lyrics throughout. The Likes of You again, I enjoy that one. That's another one that gets played at work quite a bit. My problem with, I think, just this sound in general, like Celtic rock, Celtic punk, the drum beat tends to sound the same. It sounds like a lot of like blast beat. It's like that, like polka almost in a way. It's like you hit the kick drum and then the snare, and it's that back and forth. And it when they want to do upbeat stuff, I find a lot of bands tend to do that, and that's where it kind of sounds a little boring. But when you get to the very end of this and you get to What's Left of the Flag, that all kind of goes out of the way. I really like the lyricism and the cadence of What's Left of the Flag. And we were talking about tempo changes earlier, how they started off really slow, and then it's and I just like this about Irish melodies in general. They're usually very simple and they're very catchy, and that's what makes them such good pub favorites, because everybody could sing along to them. And it'd be incredible to see these in a concert and really experience these with the crowd. I have to go. Thank you, everybody. Drive safely.
Bye, Brooklyn. Thank you. All right, I guess I will next. It feels like you guys are the hosts of the show now.
Didn't mean for that to happen. Apologies, but we'll accept the offer with grace.
Your contracts will be in soon. Please get them to me in a timely fashion. So I only really knew Ship It Off to Boston from this group. I knew there is
Ship It Off to Boston is actually the Dropkick Murphys, not Flogging Molly.
God,
an American-based Irish punk band.
See, this is how I am when it comes to this stuff sometimes. So yeah, I didn't know a goddamn thing. I didn't know a goddamn song about this group, apparently. I knew of their existence. I knew that they had a very similar kind of Celtic rock aesthetic. So I kind of got the idea of what I was in for when I listened to this album. I dug this. I didn't realize that the songs at the first half of the album were covers. Laura was really great. I loved that one. That was like an interesting way to start off with. I've loved like the Romanian kind of sound on, I think it was Another Bag of Bricks. That really caught my ear, and I was like, ooh, I really am digging this. Tomorrow Comes a Day Too Soon was such a great song to end that section of the album with. And then we get to what was easily my favorite part of the album, which was the live part, because there was such a crazy energy that was absolutely infectious through every single one of those performances. it's a cliche thing to say about live recordings, especially when they're really good, but it felt like you were there. And I really dug, as good as the first half of the album was, the second half of the album was really the standout for me. I really enjoyed listening to this album, even if I did think that this was Dropkick Murphys for a second.
Yeah, another one where I have to thank the show for bringing this to my attention. I really love this, and so I'm from an Irish family. My family are from Waterford. My mum was born in Tralee, and so I spent so many evenings with Irish bands playing in a pub until like the early hours, and it really reminded me of that. In fact, I stopped listening to this one studiously, like I do with music, and just enjoyed it, which gives me less to say, but I think it's a commendation on the album. It just felt like kind of home. What's interesting is obviously the merge of the genres and bringing punk in, and that was kind of fun to visualize, with I can imagine a pub turning into a club atmosphere maybe, and like the older demographic calling it and going home, and then you get like this younger crowd and the fiddle turns into an electric guitar, and I just loved listening to this. And Irish music is all about storytelling, and there were so many great stories, and some of them I wanted to kind of break down. There was one that like it just fucking hell, what's the song called? Sorry. The Likes of You Again, and it's like that, and I got the lyrics up because I wanted to be like I don't know why I'm on EP there. Wednesday night is morning now, I'm walking in the rain, the birds are screaming in my ear, they're driving me insane. I sang the whole song like that because I wanted it to be like sweet, and obviously it was, if you cut through the punk, and I'm not a punk guy, but I just loved that. And then What's Left, what is it called, What's Left of the Flag, that chorus is like immediately classic Irish. Like that could have been written hundreds of years ago. That walk away, my boy, walk away, my boy, in the morning we'll be free. Volunteer the mother dear, left of the flag for me. I'm not singing the right key, but yeah, just that kind of hey ho kind of sound. Which I've obviously, on the flip side, if I could just quickly get there, let me see, like a tempo of like over 200. You could do like is that going to be rocky? That's not going to be nearly rocky enough, is it? But you could do like a no lie, the feels about the right, like you could totally imagine that band doing that. Just do like a really revved up version of all these classics. So happy
his keyboard's right in front of him.
Yeah, right. And me too.
It's so funny, but I really loved it. It was so emotive to me, because I probably didn't hear like the punk rock thing, because I'm cutting through it and hearing like the stories, and I was almost sad. Apart from like the hey ho kind of choruses, I almost didn't want there to be choruses. I know that you kind of need them, but I wanted more like a 6-verse song, because that feels to me like much more the Irish thing. And I don't know, like really celebratory sound, but when you cut through, very very typically homesickness, that kind of like melancholic lyrics with a celebratory sound. Like you'd never know when you're listening to Fields of Athenry, people are singing it in stadiums and stuff like that. It's so devastating. So I really appreciated that they haven't moved away. Well, I didn't know they were covers as well, but the fact that it sounds like they didn't move away from that sort of the core, the pureness of the Irish sound, not sound. I don't know, morals. I don't know what it would mean to make an Irish song sound like an Irish song and then bring it to a different genre. But yeah, I just loved it. So thank you very much, Mark, for bringing this to my attention. I had no idea. I did not think they were Dropkick Murphys, but I didn't know them.
God, I'm not going to live that down. This is going to be as bad as the time I accidentally mistook "Don't Stop" for "Go Your Own Way," which I have done.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Okay, so let's put my pain aside for a second. Let us get scored, favorite and least favorite. And so, since this is your album, you will be starting.
This one's tough for me because so I will recommend go and listen to Drunken Lullabies in its normal version and not the acoustic version from this album. You'll get a whole different song, a whole different energy from that song. As Brooklyn kind of mentioned, Drunken Lullabies, it starts off and you're like, I'm gonna wrestle a bear. The way that normal song starts off, you just get this energy from it right away. You're like, fuck, I can do anything. And then this version is so tapered down. So I would highly recommend listening to the non-acoustical versions of the first 5 songs. Laura, again, is its own song. It's the only original song on here. And then if I could make a recommendation, it's probably my second or third favorite song of all time. It's called "If I Ever Leave This World Alive" by Flogging Molly. It's not on this album. It's not recorded, but it is a very, very low-key song. It's fantastic. It's on one of their very first albums, "If I Ever Leave This World Alive." It is bar none my favorite of their songs. It's fantastic. It's tough for me to pick a song on this because I re-listened to this album quite a bit. I probably will go with "What's Left of the Flag" for me as maybe my number 1 off of this album. The Wanderlust, the acoustic version of the Wanderlust, I think is fantastic. That's probably my second favorite. And then "The Likes of You" again. Fuck, these songs just get you. They fill you with such full energy. I do think my least favorite song on this one is actually another Bag of Bricks. I do think that they take the swing towards the Romanian type sound because there is a Romanian player in their band. And so I think they allowed kind of that song to be re-recorded. The original Bag of Bricks is a lot more energy, doesn't have that type of swing in it. It's one swing and a miss for me. The one thing about Flogging Molly is they constantly put out albums, and it kind of dilutes. So it makes it 1 out of every 5 of their songs is enjoyable, and the rest just tend to start to sound like pub songs. This is, I think, probably their best album, by far their best songs, minus "If I Ever Leave This World Alive." I would give this probably an 8 point. I'm going to give this a 9. I love this album. I have so much fun listening to it. This is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Speak your truth. Don't ever hold back on your rating. So Brooklyn is giving this an 8. I erased the message. So Brooklyn's giving this an 8. He said his favorite song is "Drunken Lullabies," and his least favorite song was "Swagger." As for me, I'm sorry, "The Wanderlust" was kind of my least favorite. Not that it was bad. It was just the one that kind of stuck in my head the least. So I just had to pick one, I guess. Black Friday Rule, though. That thing's 11 minutes, but after first listen, I immediately added to my workout playlist because the rawness and intensity on that. And even just to go into the freaking soccer chant, and just the dialogue about, yeah, no wonder this guy has a kid after that guitar solo. There's no part of that feels like filler. There's no part of it that felt like it needed to be snipped out. It was perfect. So an 8 for me. Real quick, you said you gave it a 9, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9. I love this.
Okay. And Andy.
I did it. There you go. It will get an 8 for me. And What's Left of the Flag, favorite. and Swagger as well for the least favorite. I think if I was playing someone this album, I would just like hurdle that to get to What's Left of the Flag, probably.
Okay, well, that brings the average score to an 8.25, which does land it right above Hopes and Fears, like literally just above it. Which means it's also just below Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too by New Radicals, which once again, maybe time to reappraise that one. But that is going to be it roughly. Now it's the end of the episode, which means we will be deciding on, everybody gets to pick a favorite album that someone else brought. This includes the audience choice album. Brooklyn is picking Hopes and Fears, personally. I am going to pick with the one I gave it a 10, Purple Rain. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a Hall of Fame pick, which is basically one that everybody picks. So Andy, what was your favorite album?
I think of this, I would go with, well, I think I'm most intrigued by what else Flogging Molly have in their locker, so I think I'll go with that one because I want to go and expand my repertoire.
And Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hopes and Fears as well. It was first time listen for that. Definitely stood out for me. I think very closely next is going to be Peter Gabriel's Us.
Very nice. All right. So real quick before we end this episode, next month, we will be having Bill Carriola and Amaru Moses on the show, two of our favorites.
The A-Train, love that guy.
I will tell him we're here. So the audience choice album for that episode is 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul. And the other albums to be included are Death in Venice Beach by the Bomb Pops. Oh my God. It's a Music Soul Child album. And he does the thing where he threw all the words into one word. So I Just Want to Sing. There it is. Then we have One Fine Morning by Lighthouse and Something More Than Free by Jason Isbell. So please join us for that. But Mark, Andy, guys, thank you both so much for joining us. We really appreciated your insight on this. And we do hope to have you back, hopefully sooner than the last time we had you, Andy. But with that, thank you all for watching so much. This has been another episode of The Turntable, and keep on rocking.